Petition, no, I didn't know about the petition.
So did somebody just give this to you?
Yeah, somebody just gave it to me.
Somebody just gave it to you. Why are you beating him?
Natasha Akpabio, never 2020, waiting for God damn it, man. And the same people will be say, and the same voters card where you get, now in them get to. And the same people will now want go vote for a better country with that too. They are in their millions, in their millions. Think about that. And the same people where they understand the implication of bad governance. You get voters card, Abi, the poverty validation card, PVC. Those ways also have their own PVC too. Now the people will now want follow vote for a better country with that. See them, better country. They merely lynched this lady, right, who organized a protest in support of Natasha to the National Assembly. So when they didn't pay those people, they had to kind of go there and give them some food and water. Do you understand that? The anti-Akpabiole, as well as the pro-Akpabiole. So the pro-Akpabiole became violent because to them, Natasha is blackmailing Akpabiole. So when they finished all of that, apart from the fact that they can barely read what is written on their banner, right? They abandoned them there. No food, no money, until the anti-Akpabiole brought water and biscuits.
You can see, right, now live at the protest, you can see all that is happening. How many people, look at them, all these people were mobilized by Akpabio's people for Akpabio support. Like even before we could come, I've met thugs everywhere and we're under even serious attack. Even if you go to the other side, there's so much people there, all thugs from this apparel. Akpabio has mobilized before we could even get there.
Yes, my sister, what do you think? He is guilty, isn't he? Yeah, because Akpabiole is like, you are not going to defeat me in the game of protesters. You have told me I'll be mobilizing others too. It'll be the same Akpabiole.
Nobody makes any payment in NDDC without God's will, Akpabio's approval. When we first came to NDDC, on the day of going for the inauguration, he told me in the car that, Madam MD, if you don't do what I say, the same pen with which I used to sign your letter, it will be the same pen that I will use to remove you. He said the first thing I should do when I get to Port Harcourt is to change the dollars in the NDDC account. I was scared to do that. After that, he came to Port Harcourt 2 days after the inauguration. He said the first thing I should do is to make sure I change the dollars. I should remove Mr. Kaltungo from being legal and send him on compulsory retirement, that we cannot have a northerner be the head of the legal team, of the legal unit. He said I should remove all the other directors that refused to take his instruction during the time of Mrs. Agwagaga. That was the predecessor before I came. So he came also with a draft, which I've submitted, with a draft letter that I should write and put it on my letterhead, implicating Senator Mobushi for collecting contracts in NDDC. I told him that I will not, I'm a lawyer, and that whoever alleges must prove. The fact that Senator Mobushi is giving us trouble as IMC, you remember also that they did not recognize the IMC. I said I will not do that letter. He said I was ungrateful and I refused to do the letter. Dr. Cairo now said that he will do the letter. If Akpabio tells him to kill, he will kill before he asks why did he kill? I said, for me, I will not do the letter. At that place, there was Mr. Etiebet, who was the only staff of the NDDC that was present at that meeting. When he finished, he now asked Dr. Cairo to go and send for the letter-headed paper from the office. They now sent for the letter-headed paper. Dr. Cairo now did the letter, which I've also submitted to the committee, alleging that Senator Wabushi had contracts. Then he said, I must sign the cover letter. I said, if I sign any document from me seen by Mr. President, he will believe every line of it. So I will only write that the EDP, who should know about projects, has gone. The next thing that he told me, he said, I must make sure that all these people leave and that the procurement, because apparently Akpabio, before I came, when himself and Festus Keyamo were ministers, their first meeting at the commission, he was awarded 30 contracts for distilling and water hyacinth. Mr. Linus, who was the director finance, refused to sign because it did not follow due process. He also said that I should implicate the chairman of the House Committee, because the chairman of the House Committee had gone to Ondo State for a meeting to plan against him. Water hyacinth and distilling. They said that the budget for water hyacinth and distilling was, I think, for about 3 to 5 billion. I'm not sure exactly how much. But that the NDDC, before I came, had overstretched itself to about 50 billion for water hyacinth and distilling. And so the National Assembly had written us, they have it also, they had written us that we should not pay for anything like that. He said, and guess what? Akpabio never signs any documents. He will always refuse to sign, but he will tell you to go and commit the fraud. For instance, he told me to go and raise a memo and give an emergency contract for flood victims. He wanted me to take an oath. He has denied that, but I want to say today, he told me up to 3 times until we had a reconciliation meeting at the villa in the house of Mr. Sadiki Abba, who is the SA to the president on domestics. In that meeting was Alhaji Mekano. He said the only condition was if I take the oath. I refused to take the oath, and I did not take that oath. And I will never take the oath from him. So he said he was going to remove me. He started a campaign of calumny against me. He said I did not answer him because the facts will speak for itself. Now, to end this matter about the procurement process, I refused to go with him to deceive Mr. President at the FEC meeting, because the Procurement Act says if I contravene any section of the Procurement Act, is 5 years imprisonment without an option of fine. So if I go and say they should pay for the process, if you see, they say it's for 2020 budget. Akpabio went to get the approval from FEC. The 2020 budget has not even been discussed by the National Assembly till today. The 2020 budget has not been passed. However, he lied to FEC, which is the greatest embarrassment in this country, for a budget that has not been passed, for an approval to be given for that procurement. I refused to go because he wanted me to send the money for the procurement to the ministry to implement the forensic audit. I refused. I am challenging him to deny any of these allegations because I have to round up for you people. But all the facts and all that I've said are all written in my document.
You have tried well, madam. Last, nothing came out of all of that. All the revelation, all the presentation, all the document presented. Baba, nothing happened to Akpabiole. Akpabiole, a minister under Bokwari, the Maja, the one that was supposed to be catching corrupt people. Remember? Anyway, today, Akpabiole has become a much more bold or emboldened thief, and is now being accused of sexual harassment. Like Natasha said, she expected Akpabiole to recuse himself, submit himself to the National Assembly or the Senate Committee on Ethics, right? So that whoever is guilty can be punished accordingly. But rather, they have resorted into the campaign of calumny and what have you. Indeed, Akpabiole believes that this is the lowest of any of the challenges he's faced during his his lawless career, his criminal career. But we shall see with Natasha. Tinubu met with state governors last night, where even a seamless Fubara was there too. He was bragging about the improved economy that you have in that contraption, how Nigeria is so great right now. The economy is coming back. States are getting more money. Local governments are collecting more money. And these are achievements that sort of shows that the economy of Nigeria is getting better. However, today, there is a report that came out. It was about how many businesses have been lost in the last 2 years of Tinubu's emergence. 2 million. There are so many of you who have started businesses and you have actually closed the businesses in the last 2 years. You are among the 2 million people or 2 million businesses that died in the last 2 years. I mean, it's not far-fetched if you can look around yourself and see the level of unemployment, the poverty. This will show you that the economy is not improving, of course. Businesses are struggling, still struggling, while others who can't really survive it, they tried, but they are dead. So, Wale Edun was on a program where Rotus of the same Arise News was having a chat with him about the state of the economy. Listen, this is one of the most lying old hag as well that you can come across. You know, is also the most incompetent and one of the most corrupt individual that you can ever trust. His name is Wale Edun. He's also very much incoherent as well, where you can't pinpoint what he's saying. Maybe you can, but I can't. Put it together.
Our ambition is to, as soon as possible, get to about 7% per annum GDP growth, because it is at that level that you begin to really lift people out of poverty. Let me just say that we expect stronger revenue growth, higher oil production, as you have seen in the budget estimates, and continued savings from the non-spending on subsidy. But more importantly, we expect that there will be greater ease of doing business. And this is all to support the private sector. Because as we have even heard earlier today, it is the private sector that has the money. It is not government budget that will fund, for example, the infrastructure deficit, which requires $100 billion investment per annum. So the plan and the commitment of Mr. President and his policy is to crowd in the private sector. And let me just give us some examples of success in that area. I've just talked about infrastructure. Last week, the president chairman of council of the Federal Economic Council, cleared the way for private sector investment that had been waiting on the sidelines for upwards of a year as a result of bureaucratic delays and other structural issues, which your commentators have talked about, the need for structural reform. So the way was cleared for the private sector to construct Benin-Asaba Highway, Lagos-Abeokuta Road, and so many others on a private-public partnership. So in sum, we are looking at 5,000 kilometers of road, which investors that have gathered long-term finance, much of it from Nigeria, in order to build these roads, concession them, toll them, improve the travel time by 75%. So you reduce the travel time, for example, on Benin-Asaba from 4 hours to 1 hour. That is the kind of increased productivity that the economy leads. So the investment climate is being improved and has been improved. Oil and gas, agriculture, as you heard earlier today, healthcare, housing. And let us not forget the fact for about the first time in 40 years, we now have domestic refining of crude petroleum with a line of sight on 1.2 million barrels per day worth of processing capacity, of course, led by Alhaji Aliko Dangote, 650,000 barrel per day refining and petrochemical company. So as a result of these investments by the private sector, which every effort is being made to encourage, we expect productivity growth, growth of the economy, creation of employment, and reduction of poverty. And of course, when the private sector grows and thrives, that creates revenue for government, tax revenue and other revenues which go to help with, as we had said earlier, the fiscal deficit. But just to say a word or two about government borrowing. Initially, the budget proposal had 80% domestic funding, 20% foreign funding to fund the deficit. The current budget has 40% domestic funding, 40% domestic, 40% foreign, and other 20% from other sources. What that means is that there is room being created for the private sector. As opposed to crowding out private sector investment, room is being created for them to be able to access the markets in addition to their equity to invest. Let me also touch what I think is an important aspect of Mr. President's philosophy of committing to private sector-led growth for this economy. The Nigerian Railway Corporation recently commissioned to a private company the Lagos-Ibadan rail track, time on that track to move their goods. It's another important example of increased productivity, making room for the private sector to come in and invest. So let me...
Nuisance, Lily.
You know, those things sounds good, right? Like when you hear things like that, apart from the fact that they are just word salads, right? They sound good. Like, didn't they? That's the most you can get from it. sounding good. But everything he just said there is a lie. Everything. I'm serious. And it's such a shame